In Russia, Putin and his regime have destroyed these values. And now they are attempting to destroy them here in Ukraine. Because they are afraid of the success you represent and the example you show. And they are afraid of your path to the European Union. But the aggressor has already dramatically failed. Ukraine has resisted the attack and is fighting back successfully.
This is my video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Wednesday midday, May the 10th. And let's start things off with the arrest of Imran Khan in Pakistan. He was arrested by paramilitary forces while at an Islamabad high court. He now faces corruption charges, which is absurd given Imran Khan's lifelong fight against corruption. But the powers that be that had Khan regime changed about a year ago, they would like to disappear Imran Khan because they are afraid of his popularity and his return to politics and his return to possibly leading Pakistan again. Imran Khan was regime changed because of his neutral stance in the collective West fight against Russia and China. Imran Khan preferred to take a neutral approach to that conflict. And he was a leader who always put Pakistan's national interests first, above everything else. So he was very much a sovereigntist, someone that believed in Pakistan's national interests. And for his sovereigntist approach to politics, he was regime changed. And now it looks like the powers that regime changed Khan, they would like to permanently disappear him from the political scene because they are afraid of his return to politics and to possibly leading the country again. So let me read you an article from the Middle East Eye with the title, Imran Khan's Arrest is a Dark Day for Democracy. The former Pakistani Prime Minister's refusal to act as a pawn for the U.S. might have been a factor in his downfall. And let me read you a couple of paragraphs from this article. Consider the facts. Khan, who was elected Prime Minister in general elections almost 5 years ago, is by far the most popular and respected political leader in today's Pakistan. The next election is due this October, were Khan to run, which he is fully entitled to do. He would win the largest democratic mandate ever secured by any politician in the 75-year history of Pakistan. This would be a disaster for the incumbent prime minister, Shehbaz Sharif, a protege of the Sharif business dynasty that has governed Pakistan for much of the last 3 decades. It would be a disaster for the corrupt business interests that were being hunted down under the Khan premiership. And it would be a calamity for the U.S., which, as history shows, has a structural hostility towards any Pakistani political leader with a democratic mandate. The U.S. prefers to rule either through client dictators or compromised democratic politicians. So far, there is radio silence from the White House. Britain has been similarly tight-lipped. The silence speaks volumes. If an opposition politician was arrested in Russia, Iran, or China, the U.S. and Britain would be loud in their condemnation. So when Khan was arrested, huge protests broke out all throughout Pakistan, and this is going to be a story that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on. Imran Khan was, without a doubt, the most popular and the most respected leader in Pakistan, and probably one of the most respected leaders in the world. He He was a cricket star, an incredible athlete who then rose to political prominence in Pakistan and led the country as prime minister before he was regime changed about 1 year ago. I actually reported on his regime change when it took place and I think it was about a year ago. So that is the update with Imran Khan, who has now been arrested. We need to keep an eye on this story because it is a huge development in Pakistan. So let's now shift gears and talk about what is happening in Europe. I'm a bit exhausted, to be quite honest, today. It is around midday here in Cyprus, and I have not been home yet since yesterday evening. Actually, I have not slept, and I have not showered. I'm still wearing the same clothes that I wore out last night because yesterday in Europe, in Cyprus, we were celebrating Europe Day, and this island had a huge party. I mean, the party to end all parties in order to celebrate Europe Day. The shops, the businesses, they all closed early yesterday afternoon, and the bars, they opened early, and people they flooded into the streets. They drank, they sang, they celebrated what is the most important holiday in all of Cyprus, and I believe the most important holiday in all of Europe, and that is Europe Day. It's a more important holiday here in Cyprus than Christmas, than Pascha, Easter, than New Year's Eve. Europe Day is the most important holiday. I would say that Europe Day is the most important holiday, and after Europe Day, I would say Festivus, and then probably Pascha, Easter, Christmas, New Year's. But Europe Day is a huge celebration, and I've been out partying, drinking, dancing, celebrating all night. And so I haven't been home. I haven't slept. I haven't showered, and I'm just exhausted. I may even be a little hungover as well because it was just a huge celebration. My favorite holiday is Europe Day. And actually, Bono, he flew in from Dublin. He gave a concert in Dublin to celebrate Europe Day. And then he flew from Dublin to Cyprus. He gave a concert just right down the street, a huge concert in the city center. And then Bono from Cyprus, I think he flew to Amsterdam to give like a midnight concert to celebrate Europe Day. So it was a huge celebration, a huge party, and you know, it's just one of those things that one time every year you just party like it's 1999, as Prince would say. So that was the big Europe Day celebration in Cyprus. I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. That's my segue into the next story, which is German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who disappeared for a while. He is now back, and he is better than ever. And Chancellor Olaf Scholz was speaking to the European Parliament, marking Europe Day on Tuesday. And Schultz said that 2,200 kilometers to the northeast of Strasbourg, Putin is parading his soldiers, tanks, and missiles. But Olaf Scholz said that the European Union should not be intimidated by Russian leaders posturing. The Chancellor said he called on member states to remain steadfast in our support for Ukraine for as long as necessary, for as long as it takes. And then Schultz also spoke in favor of closer cooperation among EU member states on defense and arms production, because you gotta give that money to the military-industrial complex. And then Schultz also talked about the importance of Europe's alliance with the U.S., as well as the EU's eastward expansion, with potential accession of the Western Balkan states, Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia. And then Olaf Scholz told the EU Parliament that he is very happy and very relieved that the Biden White House blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, because if the Biden White House did not blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, then Germany would not be deindustrializing. And it's been a big relief for Olaf Scholz to have the weight of Germany's industrial production and industrial prosperity lifted off his shoulders, and now he can concentrate on being green, on the Green New Deal and solar energy and flux capacitors and hydrogen powered thingamajigs. So he thanked the Biden White House for blowing up that pesky Nord Stream pipeline and freeing Germany from Russian oil and gas. Now Germany can focus on creating the flux capacitor that will make the DeLorean cars fly. Anyway, that was Olaf Scholz speaking to the EU Parliament for Europe Day. And on Europe Day, the United States, they announced that they will be giving another $1.2 billion in weapons to Ukraine. But this $1.2 billion in weapons is not going to be something that they're going to give right away, right now. This is actually a $1.2 billion contract to the military-industrial complex so that they can start manufacturing weapons for Ukraine. According to the U.S. military, the aid is intended to meet Ukraine's most urgent requirements by providing critical near-term capabilities, bolstering air defense, and sustaining Kiev's artillery. However, the ammunition will not be sent from Pentagon stockpiles. Instead, the aid is being provided under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which allows Washington to contract with U.S. military industry, its allies, and partners. Tuesday's announcement represents the beginning of a contracting process, the Pentagon clarified. It must be really good for the military-industrial complex on Europe Day. If there's one industry that really celebrates Europe Day, it's the military-industrial complex. So that is the big gift, the present that the U.S. government has given to the MIC on Europe Day, on May 9th. Europe Day. And the UK, they also announced that they will be providing long-range missiles to Ukraine. And so the UK, by making this announcement to provide long-range missiles to Ukraine, they were hoping that the US would follow suit and also provide long-range missiles to Ukraine ahead of the big spring, fall, winter, summer, next spring, fall, winter, summer counteroffensive, which, by the way, is going to take place. It will come soon, and I believe it will be in the direction of Zaporozhye, Melitopol, and cutting off the land bridge and splitting Russian forces in two and reaching the Sea of Azov and all of these things. I do believe it is going to happen, and it is going to happen very soon. But the UK was hoping that by providing whatever long-range missiles it had to Ukraine, it would force the United States to provide long-range missiles to Ukraine as well. But according to Politico, the U.S. has said that they will not provide long-range missiles to Ukraine. So it looks like the UK's trick, their little clever trick to bait the United States into providing long-range missiles to Ukraine, for now has failed. But the UK, they have also issued a statement. This is coming from Foreign Minister Mr. Cleverly. They have issued a statement telling everybody in the United Kingdom to not expect too much from this big Ukraine offensive, and cleverly said, and I quote, "They, Ukraine, have shown themselves to be very, very effective defenders of their country, but we must recognize that there may not be a simple, quick, and decisive breakthrough." That is what Cleverly told the Atlantic Council as he was visiting the United States. That is the foreign minister of the UK. And Sweden, they announced the other day that they will not be providing fighter jets to Ukraine. Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson said there will be no deliveries of fighter jets to Ukraine. Quote, "We don't have extra JAS Gripen fighters that we can send to Ukraine now," he told SVT TV channel. So the UK said they're going to provide long-range missiles. The US said, "You're on your own, UK, with that long-range missile stuff. We are not going to be providing long-range missiles." At least that's what they're telling everyone publicly via Politico. Who knows? Maybe they have provided long-range missiles, but on the down low. And Sweden, they have said that they will not be providing JAS Gripen fighter jets to Ukraine. Now, Foreign Minister Cleverly, he is warning all the citizens of the United Kingdom to not expect so much from this counteroffensive, and all the hype around the counteroffensive should be considered as just that, hype. And this counteroffensive, according to Cleverly, is going to be a step-by-step process, and it will take time to deliver the results that the Zelensky regime and the collective West have been hyping up for the past 3 months. And we also now have Podolyak, who is Zelensky's BFF. He is the advisor, the top advisor or spokesman for the Zelensky government. And he said the other day that the Ukrainian counteroffensive is not a big battle for Middle-earth, in reference to the Lord of the Rings trilogy movies. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine is not a Hollywood movie, and one should not expect the looming Kiev counteroffensive to be a turning point in it. President Zelensky's aide, Mikhail Podolyak, said, quote, "When we talk about a counteroffensive, that it will cause a collapse for Russia, or conversely, there will be no gains for Ukraine, it looks like we are in a Hollywood movie where a big battle for Middle-earth begins, and one battle for Gondor will decide everything. Things do not happen like that," Podolyak said on Tuesday. The long-hyped offensive is a set of many events, some of which may be more successful while others less successful, he added. So the Zelensky regime, the UK government, the collective West media, the Biden White House, they've all been hyping up this counteroffensive as some sort of big cinema D-Day, Saving Private Ryan, Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth offensive that will collapse Russia, that will lead to the Russian government's defeat and regime change in the Russian Federation. They've been hyping this up over the past 3 months, that they will capture Crimea and defeat and vanquish the evil Putin once and for all, and liberate all of the entire world from the evil that is Russian President Vladimir Putin, and then they will be able to address the evil that is China and Xi Jinping. And now, all of a sudden, you are getting the collective West, the UK foreign minister, Podolyak, Reznikov. I talked about Reznikov, and now he said not to hype up the counteroffensive. All these people are now making statements saying, you know what? This isn't some movie. This is not some Lord of the Rings Middle-earth battle. This is not some Saving Private Ryan or Saving Private Zelensky type of movie. And it's going to be a step-by-step process, and it's going to take time. So keep the money flowing, keep the weapons flowing, and just be patient, because this is going to take a couple of months or a couple of years. But the counteroffensive, the hype about the counteroffensive that we've been getting from the collective West media is that this is going to be some rapid movement, which is going to take a couple of weeks to panic the Russian military as the Ukraine military drives towards the Sea of Azov, and it's going to be a panic in the Russian military, and they're going to run away in fear, and this is going to lead to a domino effect, which is going to collapse the Russian government. That's the narrative that they've been feeding us over the past 3 months, and now everything is starting to change and shift to a new narrative, which is that this is going to be a very slow, step-by-step process, and this is not some big screen movie battle. So that is the statement from Podolyak. And with that being said, let's do a couple of clown worlds. And the first clown world has to do with the May 9th Victory Day parade. And the internet, the interweb, social media, they have been talking about the parade that took place in Moscow as being some sort of indication, some sort of proof that Russia is running out of weapons, and that Russia is down to its last missiles and its last tanks, because the Victory Day parade, the Dan Pabodi parade of May 9th, had very few tanks and missiles on display. And the interwebs, they're saying that this is proof that the Putin war machine is at the end. It has run out of tanks, it's run out of missiles, it's run out of soldiers, and that is why they couldn't display 100 tanks during the Dan Pabedi Victory Day parade. And a lot of people are talking about the one tank that was on display during the parade, and that was the T-34 tank, which is always a fixture at the Victory Day parades. But they're saying that this was the only tank, and Russia just doesn't have any more tanks. All the tanks that are usually shown at the Victory Day parade are now destroyed, or whatever is left is on the front lines.
This is supposed to be a showpiece for Russian military might, but so much of that military might has already been mauled in Ukraine that Russia has very little to show on its parade in Red Square.
That is what all of the interwebs are talking about, because this is the way they are coping with the fact that Russia has hundreds, if not thousands, of tanks in position and ready to be used by the Russian military. As a matter of fact, the Russian military, including the Russian government, they have said that they produce hundreds of tanks a month. They've actually made these statements. They produce something like 1,500 tanks per year. I mean, they're cranking out tanks, and Dmitry Medvedev, when he was touring a lot of the factories, the tank and the missile factories, he actually said that the Russians are producing missiles like pancakes, like blini. That is what Medvedev said. But the new cope with Russian weapons is now the Victory Day parade as being some sort of proof that Russia has run out of weapons, because the scenario is something along the lines of Putin and the military top leadership, Shoigu and Gerasimov, sitting down with Putin and saying, President Putin, I know that you would like to have maybe 20 or 30 tanks in the Victory Day parade, but we just don't have 20 or 30 tanks to spare. We're going to have to send our last 20, 30 tanks to the conflict with Ukraine, and that's it. So all we have left is this T-34 tank. That's all we got to spare. And then whatever tanks, like CNN is reporting, whatever tanks we have in museums, We have to fix those up and get those to the front line, and that's it. That is it. So that's all the Russia has left, is the one T-34 tank protecting the entire country. That is it. Proof that Russia has run out of weapons, the Victory Day parade. Now, I've seen a lot of these Victory Day parades. I've actually been to one in person, and I've been seeing these Victory Day parades now for many years. And let me just say that some years, these Victory Day parades are huge, and some years they're not so huge. I don't know what the criteria is for the Russian government and the Russian military as to what hardware they're going to show and how big the parades are going to be, but I've seen parades that have been very minimal in what they've shown and very short, and I've seen parades that have lasted for hours with long speeches from Putin and showing hundreds of tanks and fighter jets and military hardware. So I think it's pretty rational and pretty logical to expect that now, as Russia is fighting the collective West and NATO in this proxy war in Ukraine, that they would hold a Victory Day parade that is more scaled back. I think it makes a lot of sense that the speeches would be brief, the parade would be very simple and very reflective on how Russia is now having to once again fight a conflict with Europe. And to me, that makes perfect sense. I think the tone of yesterday's Victory Day celebration fits perfectly in line with the reality of what is going on. But the collective West mainstream media and much of the interwebs are talking about how this was proof that Russia is out of weapons and tanks. You know, if Russia was to have 100 tanks at the Victory Day parade, you would get a narrative along the lines of Russia is weak by Russia is trying to show their strength by displaying hundreds of tanks in the Victory Day parade, when the truth is that Russia has no more tanks left, something like that. You would get a different narrative. You would get something like Russia is using their last 200 tanks to show them at Red Square in Moscow, and all they have left are these 200 tanks. So even if Russia showed a whole bunch of military hardware during the Victory Day parade, you would get some sort of twisting of the narrative to once again make the case that Russia's running out of weapons. Russia displays their last 100 missiles during the Victory Day parade. Or Russia is trying to hide the fact that they've run out of missiles by displaying 100 missiles during the Victory Day parade, and they're trying to cover up the fact that they've actually run out of missiles. It's a no-win situation. Whatever Russia did, the collective West media would twist it and turn it around to push the narrative that they're running out of missiles. Anyway, the country of Latvia, they have arrested 26 people for celebrating Victory Day. More than 24 residents of Latvia were arrested on Tuesday for violating the law against celebrating the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany. The EU and NATO member police even seized a Russia jacket from a man in a wheelchair and arrested another for wearing Soviet medals in public. 5 people were arrested for laying flowers with symbols of military aggression at the Freedom Monument in Daugavpils Victory Park. They were charged with public use of symbols glorifying militaristic aggression and war crimes. In the same park, police forced a man in a wheelchair to remove his jacket because it said Russia. To remove his jacket simply because it said Russia. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. Basically, 26 people were arrested in Latvia because they were thankful that Nazi Germany was defeated in World War II. That's what they were arrested for. That is, without a doubt, a tragic clown world. If you don't laugh at stories like this, you cry. So that is my clown world for the day. What the collective West leadership and the collective West media should have been focused on was Putin's speech, his Victory Day speech, because it was quite a historic speech that Putin gave for Victory Day. And Alexander, on his channel, I'll put a link to the video in the description box down below, but he does an excellent breakdown of Putin's Victory Day speech. And in summary, Putin basically said that the conflict that Russia is fighting today with the elites of Europe, and he was very clear to distinguish, to separate the elites and the people of Europe. He said with the elites of Europe is this conflict is no different than the conflict that Russia was fighting in the 1940s against the forces of Nazi Germany. And that was quite an interesting parallel that Putin drew between the elites that Russia's fighting today and the forces that they fought with and won and defeated in the Great Patriotic War. So that should have been the focus of everything that was going on yesterday. The focus should have been on Putin's speech and the fact that Putin called it a turning point for the world, and how he drew parallels between World War II and what the Russians fought and defeated and what the Russians are fighting against now in this proxy war with NATO and the collective West in Ukraine. But everyone preferred to focus on a single tank and Russia's running out of weapons and arresting people for placing flowers at monuments because they're thankful that the forces of evil were defeated in World War II. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Rockfin, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code Good Day. I am going to go home now, and I'm going to shower and to get some sleep because it was just a long night of partying as I celebrated Europe Day along with everybody else in Cyprus, and it was just a long night of partying and listening to Bono as he gave a concert to celebrate Europe Day for all of us in Cyprus and in Europe. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. Take care.